right, today we're going to continue factoring. We're going to try factoring completely today. Let's see if we can get this straight. All right, so to factor a polynomial completely, the first thing you want to do is identify and factor out the greatest monomial factor. So that's your first step. Okay, and if the degree of a polynomial is 2 or greater, then we can try some of these other methods, which we've learned about before. So now we've got to put it all together, kind of like working a puzzle. So I think it's kind of fun. So if you have 2 terms, then check and see if it's a difference of 2 squares, because remember we did this. So if it's a difference of squares, then to factor it, whoops, I got a 16 there. To factor, it would be 4x plus 5 times 4x minus 5, right? So we know how to do a difference of squares, and that's pretty easy. Okay, if you get to this point, ask yourself, is it a perfect square trinomial? Remember when we did those? So this would be x plus 6 times x plus 6. This one would be x minus 6 times x minus 6, or x plus 6 squared and x minus 6 squared, okay? Or it could be one of those kind of yucky ones, which is just a product of 2 binomials where you have to sort of sit there and figure it out. So here, let's see, we've got 2x, we've got x. Okay, here we could have a 5 and a 2, and this is positive, so I want the 5 to be bigger. Whoops. Minus. Okay, so that would get us back to where we started. And here we could also do our thing that we did today in class, which was factoring by grouping. So here I could group these together, I could group these together, and try to look for that common binomial factor. So I'm going to factor out my x squared. Here, I'm going to factor out my 3. So I found my common binomial factor, which is x plus 7. And then I'm going to group these 2 together, these 2 terms. Okay, so that's just kind of a little review of all the different methods we've learned for factoring. So let's try it. So our first thing is we're going to look for a common monomial factor and factor that out first and then see where we are. So here, if we look, I can see, oh, I've got some m's in common, but of all of them, the highest degree of m I have is 1. So I'm going to pull out an m. I don't think that I have, I also have an n in all of them, so I'm going to pull that out. Okay, I don't think I have any coefficients that I can use as a common factor. So if I just pull out my m in, let's see what it does to all of my terms. Here I'm going to have 3m cubed left if I pull out an m in. Here I'm going to have negative 5m squared. Here I'm going to have 12m, and here I'm going to have negative 20. Okay, so now I'm at this point. Now, because I've got, 4 terms, I'm going to try to do my factoring by grouping, like we did in class earlier today. So I'm going to group these 2 together. I've still got my m in over here. So now I'm going to have myself a couple of different degrees of grouping. So I think I'm going to try, putting my 3m cubed and my 12m together, since we have some stuff in common there. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to have my negative 5m squared minus 20 together. Okay. So now I'm going to factor out my 3 and an m here. I've still got my m in right there. That doesn't go away. So 3m. Have left some m squared plus 4. Over here, I'm going to factor out my negative 5. So I'm going to have left m squared plus 4. Okay, so now I found my common binomial factor. I'm going to put these two together. I still have my other term out here. So 3m minus 5 times m squared plus 4. Okay, so I have factored this completely now. Right, let's try some more. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is try to factor out a common monomial factor as much as I can. So here, as you can see, we have a coefficient factor that we can take out of there. I'm going to pull out a -5 for sure. Let's see, I don't have an x in all of them, but I do have a y in all of them, so I'm going to pull that out as well. Okay, so I'm going to have left here, I'm going to have x squared. Now I pulled out a negative, so these are all going to become positive inside my parentheses. So I've got my +5 now and an x left over. And here I'm going to end up with just 3, okay? Now at this point, there's no perfect squares in there, so I can't use any of those. I'm going to just try to factor it if I can. So if I think about it, I've still got my -5y. Now let's see if I can factor this at all. So my factors of 3 would be 1 and 3, and there's no way I can add those together to get 5. So I know that this right here is prime, and I can't factor it anymore. So this right here has been factored completely. I can't take it any further, okay? So if you reach a point and you're like, oh, this is so frustrating, what you have there might be prime, so that might be as much as you can do. Okay, so my common binomial factor here, I've got, let's see, I don't know if I can pull a 12. Nope, I can't. So definitely an 8, though. I could pull that out. So I've got an 8, okay? 16. No, can't. Okay, so 8, and definitely an x. So let's see what we do with this. So I've got 6x squared plus 11x plus 3. Okay. So now I've still got this, and inside of this, I'm going to try to factor some more. I don't have any perfect squares, so I can't use that. So let's think about ways that we can factor my 6. So I could do a 2 and a 3. I want to somehow combine that with over here so that I can add them together to make 11. So if I have a 3x and a 2x, if I do this, then when I multiply this all out, when I FOIL it, I'll end up back here, because 2x plus 9x would make 11x. So I know that's going to work. So I factored this one completely. Okay. My last one here. Okay, so neither one of these right now are perfect squares, although it looks like it could be a difference of squares. So I'm going to try to factor out a common monomial and see if that helps me. Okay, so let's see. Can I factor out an 8? I think I can. So this becomes c to the 4th, negative 128 divided by 8 is 16. So now these are both perfect squares, right? If I took the square root of c to the 4th power, I get c squared. If I took the square root of 16, I would get 4. So this is a difference of squares. So I know that I can do this. C squared plus 4 times c squared minus 4. Now here, again, we have a difference of squares, so we can continue factoring. And you just keep going until you can't anymore. So I have to rewrite everything I've already done, because that doesn't go away. So I've got this. Now I can continue with this, c plus 2 times c minus 2. And now I think I'm done. So I have and factor that completely. So feel free to rewatch this or pause it however much you need to, and bring your questions, write them down, and bring them to class tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye.